One Punch Man is probably one of my all-time favorite anime. The first season is still my favorite, with some gorgeous animation, incredible comedy, and a solid story to boot. But unfortunately, to say that I feel the same about the second season would definitely be a bit of an overstatement, but that's a conversation for another video. However, one of the things that I think the second season has done better than the first is the introduction of Garou, One Punch Man's first villain. But first, a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Kurtzpil. Link to the game in the description. Kurtzpil is a third-person action battle MMO that's clearly heavily inspired by anime. It's made by COG, aka the same guys who did Elsword and Grand Chase. The game is gorgeous with fully animated cutscenes. Just look at it. It's honestly a lot of fun, and my personal favorite part, as always, is the massive amount of customization options for your character. If you're interested in playing the game, it's actually out on early access right now. Once again, feel free to use my link in the description. Garou is One Punch Man's first villain, and that's kind of my key point I want to discuss, the word villain. You see, every monster Saitama has faced so far in the series has been, well, merely a monster. A deformed creature with its only goal being the destruction of the Earth or some other obscure reason. Whether it be Vaccine Man and saving the environment, or the Undersea King and taking over the Earth, or even Boros and just finding an opponent who can match him. Each encounter has always been some sort of monster whose goals are obvious and are easily dispatched. But Garou is different. You see, Garou is a human through and through. This is a constant theme that's repeated over and over in each of his fights with the other heroes. He doesn't look down on his opponents, or ever assumes that they're all weak like most monsters do. He actively fights each of his opponents, and more importantly, he actually takes some hits, showing that he isn't invulnerable. The show is doing everything in its power to show us that Garou isn't the Sea King, a seemingly unkillable machine that can only be brought down by the likes of Saitama. Garou is a human. The next thing that makes Garou such an incredible addition to the show is his ambitions. Garou's ambitions are much more nuanced than any of the monsters we've seen so far. Originally, in his introductory scene, he proclaims himself a monster, but in the very next episode, he sits next to a kid and just has a normal conversation with him. The kid even has something that he wants, but Garou never just rips it out of his hands or kills the kid like any monster would do. Garou just continuously asks for it until he realizes that he's going to be unable to get it from the kid. Then he just kind of gives up, far from a monstrous intent. We also see this idea again when he fights Metal Bat. When Metal Bat's sister comes out and tells him to stop fighting, Garou once again gives in and leaves the fight. I think that's why Mumen Rider is so important. He is the only one who actively gets in the way of an S-class hero to stop the fight between him and Garou. Mumen Rider recognizes that Garou is a human. Finally, the biggest point the show made is when Garou is offered a chance to join the Monsters League, and he turns it down. Garou's quest isn't simply to become a monster. Instead, from what I can tell, it's to figure out who he is. A villain like this is one of the major things that I think Season 1 was missing. I personally rather have unique villains to counteract our heroes rather than your monster of the week. Garou is a character who can test the other heroes' resolves. It's no wonder that he loses against Saitama almost instantly, and even debatably loses his battle against Metal Bat. Garou is a dynamic villain who is slowly changing and learning after each fight, changing his fighting techniques and learning more about heroes as he continues battling. And I think that's basically Garou's storyline. He is a villain who is only a villain because he has yet to figure out who he is. He only fights to learn more about himself and supposedly get stronger. Leading me onto my final point. Garou is a villain that Saitama can't really kill. He is a human and Saitama is a hero. So simply trying to kill another human is against Saitama's be a hero mentality. Saitama, or potentially another hero, will have to convince Garou through words, not fighting, because simply beating Garou to a pulp will not change his worldview. He doesn't see himself as this superior being like all the previous monsters do. He is simply trying to become stronger, to discover who he is. Garou is human, and Garou is honestly the perfect villain that this anime needed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and once again, a huge thank you to Kurtzspell for sponsoring this week's video. Like I said, if you want to download the game, feel free to use my link in the description. Once again, a quick heads up, I will be a special guest at MechaCon in New Orleans this year, and also on top of that, I'll be attending Anime Expo this year just as a visitor. So if you guys want to organize a meetup or something in particular at Anime Expo, leave a comment down in the description and we can see if we can try to organize something. A huge thank you to my patrons, you guys are my heroes. Speaking of which, if you're interested in seeing how I edit, joining our exclusive Discord, or simply supporting the channel, feel free to join me on Patreon. Make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys say man and go watch that goddamned anime.